back to Elephant Den. It's Ashli.
And Alex.
We are
On this fine evening.
Mm-hmm. It is episode number 5.
We're talking about one of the greatest movies ever put to film. A movie that's only tied with 2 other movies to have been nominated,
Nominated
won,
won.
Awarded 11 Academy Awards on the same podium as Titanic and the third Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. But we're talking about Ben Hur from 1959.
Ben Hur.
What?
What? Before we get started, I just want to put it out there to please subscribe to our channel. If you've been enjoying our videos.
Please subscribe.
No, I can't do it again. I can't beg. No more.
Please, can I have some more?
So yeah, if you have been enjoying our channel so far and
which
you
how
like
could
what
you not?
see, yeah, please subscribe to us and click the bell for notifications and like the video and comment if you have anything to say because we want to hear you. Also, please tell your friends about us. If you know a friend who likes movies, be like, hey, you should follow this channel called Elephant Den.
So this is a movie that's had, this isn't even the original, actually. The original was from the 20s. Even before that, there was a short film based on this story. The story derives from a book, right? It's based off from a book.
The book is called Ben Hur, A Tale of the Christ.
Few movies define epic this well. Like, this is in the same line as Lawrence of Arabia, Gone with the Wind, Spartacus. I think a good question to ask someone who's first time visiting it is, despite everything you've heard from it going into it, at what point did you realize it was as good as it is? That it's that epic movie you've always heard of? What made you click? Because the beginning, there's an action for quite a bit into the movie. Mm-hmm. Really, it's a lot of dialogue, intimate conversations in rooms. But what started standing out to you? Maybe not a particular moment, maybe so, but what was it? Was it the production, the acting?
I think it was the instance. I mean, obviously the movie starts off with the birth of Christ.
Yeah.
But it was me realizing that this is a story based off of the story of Christ and his birth and his life. What I enjoyed so much about it that I think made it so significant is how it related, how this story was made based off of that story, mm-hmm. That everyone was so familiar of. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew the story about Jesus, and so to make a story related with that, or
kind of interwoven.
Yeah, interwoven. That's the word I'm looking for. I think was such a good idea to make a film about that or a story about that.
Right, because through our main protagonist, Judah Ben Hur, who is a prince in Judea, or that time Jerusalem, being occupied by the Romans, mm-hmm. It's through his journey that we get an intimate encounter with Christ. And I love revisiting this film. I've seen it a few times, but every time you get blown away very early on by the production, the costume design, the sets, these gargantuan sets, the extras. There's thousands on thousands of extras.
So many people.
And it's, just so grand. And, we'll get on later into some of the scenes, which not just by the sheer number of people, but the logistics and how did they pull it off all in camera. It's really unbelievable.
Especially for that time period. With those Academy Awards, I just want to mention the best visual effects. I can imagine it at that time, seeing a film like this, especially that whole scene with the horse race.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Like, how did they do that at that time, when you don't have the technology that you have these days, and to make it look so believable and real. This film was a piece done way before its time. That's why it is epic and one of the greatest films of all time.
To touch on epic and something that's goes throughout the whole movie is the score, obviously. Also won the Oscar, Miklos Rosa, who's a Hungarian.
He's Hungarian?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The acting will start off. So after that initial prologue of the birth of Christ, you're introduced to the character Masala, who's a Roman general. He's awaiting Ben Hur, the Prince of Judea.
Yeah.
And let's talk about their relationship.
Yeah, so I love that first scene because it helped the fall of their relationship impact us way more. So it starts off with that brotherly friendship where Masala has this like look to him where he's like so happy to see this guy, remembers all those times
grew up together.
they grew up together, and like you could see it in his face that he loved this guy, you know?
Because they shared an innocent time of their
There
of
was
their lives together.
exactly.
But then Rome kind of poisoned his...
Or I guess their belief system, right?
Right.
Because he was a Jew. Ben Hur is a Jew,
Yeah.
and Masala believed that the Roman Empire and
Rome is the greatest nation of all, and it's to conquer the whole world. That's what they set out to do, right?
I mean, at that time period,
Yeah. And so that ideology has way washed over Masala.
He is God, the only God. He is power, real power on earth. Not that.
That first scene with the two of them really showed how good of an actor Masala was.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting because maybe they like flattened out the character
Right.
the rest of the film, but it just didn't stand out to me anymore. Like after that, I was kind of like, oh, he was only really good at the beginning, and then after he was kind of
He had
okay.
less screen time. He was, by the end, he was just left to be destroyed.
Exactly. It was almost like they wrote the character to just die.
That's why I think they knew what they were doing with their beginning interactions. The script and their scenes together was very powerful.
Yeah.
And then so Judah gets enslaved for many years. I think it's 4 or so years.
For an innocent act, right?
I love that too. I'm glad you mentioned it, how something so simple and innocent and accidental as a roof tile falling off and not even killing anyone, but just causing a minor accident.
On the Roman soldiers.
And then I love the commander or whatever. And then I love how Masala comes up and checks it himself, and he knows.
He knows it was an
But he
innocent.
has to stick to his code and his power move.
As someone who like doesn't know too much about the history of the Roman Empire, I loved that they showed everyday daily things. Like for example, in Masala's place,
Yeah, palace or whatever.
his palace, like them taking off his armor.
Yes.
Do you remember that in the beginning? The like all the servants are kind of around him
Yeah.
and taking it off, and then they're giving him the water or the drink, whatever he's drinking.
Yeah, probably
the
wine.
bowl they come with to wash their hands before they're eating dinner. At Ben Hur's place with his sister and his mom. Like little things like that. It's like you don't see that in film a lot. It's mostly all kind of taken out of it.
Yeah.
Because it needs to get to the point. But I love that this film shows all of those little daily things to understand the life of the people in the Roman Empire or at that time period. Even with the chariot race, I loved like seeing all the preparation.
That first lap that they do.
Yeah, the first lap that they do.
And even just, the production that it takes, like you have to, if you reset, you have to clean the sand and wipe all the horse footprints.
Exactly.
But it's such a good tension build of just doing this lap of this ceremonial
event.
lap. Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. And it's like, it's something you don't see nowadays because it doesn't exist.
It looks like people got killed making this scene.
Yeah.
And the choreography of it, it all makes sense, you know, at which point they're making turns, the straightaway. So in a way, he gets part of his revenge, right, by the death of Masala, but then he finds out sister and mother are
Held captive.
imprisoned in the dungeons for all those years, and they've contracted the disease leprosy. I thought that was a great scene too. I wanted to mention it.
I liked that they didn't show.
Oh, that's what added
What
to
they
it.
looked
No, I mean,
like.
yeah, that scene, it was, I think, even before the chariot race, but when even Masala asks what's happened to them, you know, they have a guard go check on them. I love that set. It's even from the rocks being so wet and dark, it made it feel extra gross and like contagious. But it's then the reveal of the guard opening the door and it hardly opens after all the years of not being open.
And he's like, I know they're alive because the food is always gone.
Yeah, but the store's never been opened, so they struggle to open it. And he goes in, and it doesn't show them. It just shows the torch
The
light up
reaction.
the room and his face, his reaction, and the score, the music picks up, and it's terrifying. It's like what nightmares are.
Yeah,
And
because it's kind of like, oh, what is it? Like,
Yeah.
as an audience, you really want to know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you expect that.
but yet when they do choose to show
The face of the mother and the
victims
daughter.
and the music changes, and it's more like, oh, you feel for them, and it's all the music
Definitely.
and the directing.
Gentle. It was gentle. It was
uplifting.
light. Yeah.
Whereas before, when they're first revealed, it's like, like booming and like kind of
Wow.
like, ooh. Keep that.
I will. I really love that the film concludes with this last line that Ben Hur says, and he says, "I felt his voice take the sword from my hand," because the whole time he's kind of neglecting Jesus. So I love that in the end he does finally see him, and it concludes with that.
Like Avatar, I see you.
I see you.
Yeah.
It was a perfect conclusion.
And his bloodlust is no longer.
Yeah, he has no more revenge. It's all done.
Yeah.
He forgives. All right, so moving on from Ben Hur, we are going to now talk about...
Steven Spielberg's latest, The Fabelmans, also nominated for 7 Academy Awards.
I can read them out for you.
Please do.
Best Picture, Best Actress, Michelle Williams, Best Supporting Actor, what was his name? Judd
Hirsch.
Judd Hirsch is nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Score, Best Director, Steven Spielberg again, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Production Design. Woo.
Yeah, I loved it. It's been a while since I've seen a new Steven Spielberg film, so it was super exciting. I said it to Ash, and I'll say it again. I love when I watch a Steven Spielberg movie, he immediately puts you into the perspective of a child. I think no matter what age you are, as an audience, no matter what's going on in life, yeah, you could relate to the adults and those relationships, but he tells it from a child's perspective, and I think that's why his movies are so successful and renowned, is because it captures that imagination of a child.
And like the hope, and
The hope,
there's so much like positive.
the future, the hope, exactly. Yet the trauma and the things that don't make sense, whether it's a parent's divorce or your environment. So I loved how this film...
Sorry, can I also say, I feel like from a child's perspective, it also it's so dramatized, right? When you're a kid and you're experiencing things for the first time, it
Right.
really impacts you and it really feels so big and real. And I think that's why he uses a child's perspective, because film does that, right?
Right. Sometimes this film is a little, I even reserved the word, but kind of cheesy. And I still think it all works for that reason, right? It's fun. But it's all through the perspective of our protagonist, Sammy Fabelman, and his life with his family. But he is mirroring Spielberg, much of Spielberg's youth. And not everything is 100% accurate in the film, as I
No.
come to understand. But a lot
But
of
a
it
lot
is
of it was
from, the places they lived.
the parents and their jobs.
Yeah.
Like both of his parents, his mom was a pianist and his dad was an engineer.
Yeah, and he related very much to his mom, who, so we'll quickly touch on Michelle Williams, who gives a great performance as kind of a grown-up who's never grown up, hasn't grown up
She
yet.
does have that childish behavior,
Yes, and it makes her kind of,
but in a beautiful way.
in a beautiful way, it makes her beautiful and young, but also kind of unstable. And she did a great job with it.
Even with the relationship of the mother and the friend Benny, right?
Yeah,
Uncle
Seth
Benny.
Rogen.
I love that the film portrayed it in a way that you couldn't hate her, because it was selfishness versus family,
Yeah.
right? Like what a mother would do for her kids. Because you see that it's she's trying so hard to be a mother instead of doing what would make her happy. And you see that through the protagonist. He does understand Sam Fabelman. He sees the way his mom has to deal with this.
Right.
And he becomes understanding, right?
She makes big sacrifices all throughout their lives, her husband and for the kids. And it's near the end where she does one of the most selfish things, if
Yeah.
not the most she's ever done, by kind of breaking up the family and leaving. But Sammy, being who Sammy is, needs to go through with his call, which is simply to make movies.
Of course, this film resembles Steven Spielberg's life. So when he mentions in an article how he wanted to do it better because it was a second chance for him to like recreate all these films again, the way he's learned to do it at this age now, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that he gets to go back and recreate all these old films that he's made when he was little, but better.
Yeah, it's very meta. It's great.
In the beginning, we see the start of how Steven Spielberg, or I guess Sammy Fabelman,
No, but Spielberg for real was inspired.
Right, yeah.
It was,
he watches The Greatest Show on Earth. Is that what the film's called?
I think it is, yeah.
That he watches for the first time in the movie theater, and there's a train crash. And as a child, I guess that's traumatizing, right, to see that. And so he asked for a Christmas present to get, or Hanukkah, sorry. For Hanukkah, he asked for a train set so that he could recreate this accident and watch it over again. And I love that the mother's like, she gets out of bed and she's like, oh, he needs to control
Yeah.
the situation. That's why he wants that. So she gives him a video camera. And I find that so fascinating, because that's the start of his whole journey in his life of where his passion comes from, right? And I love that because it makes you understand why he needed to do that, and then why he picked up the camera, and what film is about, right?
Yeah.
And what directing is about, because it is about that control.
Yes, exactly. Directing's about control in a way, managing people, solving problems, and he had that from a very early age.
The things in this film reminded me of my brother and my dad and my family growing up. I mean, Steven Spielberg had 3 sisters, just like my brother. He also did pick up a video camera at a young age. It was also cool to see the whole train scene, because my brother started off playing a lot with his hands and making explosions in car accidents, and then he also drew a lot of car accident or action sequences. And then he picked up a video camera and started filming a lot of things like his cars and whatnot. So it's just kind of cool to see the similarities of Steven Spielberg and my brother, because it was also familiar, like with my dad supporting Kevin and providing him with video cameras because he knew that he was that passionate about it.
And I could totally picture your dad saying something like, "Oh, Kevin, you're gonna make this film, and everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna make your mom happy." And
yeah, exactly that. Especially that whole scene where the dad comes in and asks him to put together the camping trip video. Exactly like my dad, and how he's always like, "Kevin, you should put together this home video for the family."
Yeah.
And Kevin has to choose between doing that or doing his like war film.
It's very accurate.
It's so cool. It's so cool to see that.
But yeah, her brother's very talented.
Very talented.
Maybe you should throw a plug.
I should. Shout out to Kevin. His channel is called Dr. Masaki. Give him a follow. He's got some great comedy, fun videos. Check them out. I'll put the link below.
Yeah.
I don't really see any gas around here.
That's because there is no gas.
What?
It's a trap!
Well, that's not very nice.
I thought the end of the film was great as well. We get Sammy. He gets the opportunity to be invited to LA film studio, Paramount, I think.
Well, because he writes to all these studios.
He writes consistently
a
letters,
job.
And he gets invited to come over, and he's able to meet with what they call the greatest director of all time, and it's David Lynch playing John Ford, who directed a lot of the great John Wayne movies and the westerns of that time, I guess the 50s. And
I love his abrupt entrance.
yeah.
Or like you're patiently waiting with Sammy Fabelman, right, in his office. He just comes in, doesn't even look at anybody. He just goes straight into the office.
Lights a cigar. He gives Sammy very plain advice, but very true. He says, "Look at that picture, that painting.
Do you see that painting over there?"
And then Sammy describes, he's like, no. Where's the horizon? And then he says, if the horizon is in the front, it's interesting. If it's in the back, it's interesting. If it's in the middle, it's boring. And it's, I believe that advice. It's so,
it's like a very simple advice.
It's very simple, but that's all it is. And that's what matters. It's what's in camera. And I love that last shot of Sammy going out on the lot, and you even pointed out the camera changes,
so,
right?
because the camera's first on the horizon being in the middle, because
and then it
adjusts, and it's like down at the bottom,
and then it shows Sammy walk off into his potential future, and because we know Spielberg and what happened. Yeah, it
was a really well done film.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. The Fabelmans.
The Fabelmans.
Yeah, the Fabelmans.
Highly recommend watching it. So that's everything we have to say for episode 5. Thank you so much for watching.
Always fun. Thank you.
Always appreciate your views, your likes, your comments. Before we go, we just want to say, if you like what we do, follow us for more updates. We have Instagram called @Ashli Alex. We also have Letterboxd, which is an app that we both love to use.
Not a subscription, but a great way to organize your movie watching experience, and maybe those you like to follow as well, like us. You could see our movie watching experience, movie reviews, critiques, ratings.
You could keep a watch list of all the films you want to watch.
Yeah, it's a great app.
It's really great. So just follow us on there.
That's all.
That's all we have. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. See you next time.
You're awesome.